If your steering wheel has more traction than your actual tires, that's a big O no. Thankfully, for all your car's big O no's, there's always a big O yes. Now through February 2nd, buy 3, get 1 free on select sets of 4 Aspen Touring AS or Mesa AP2 brand tires with paid installation purchase. Big O Tires, the team you trust. Disposal fees extra and up to 10% shop fee based on non-discounted regular retail price not to exceed $35 where permitted. See store for pricing. Eligibility may vary. Not valid with other offers. At participating locations, no cash value.
Welcome to Red Zone Extra on Facebook Live, Chiefs Playoff Edition, and what a game we saw. We're going to talk to Sam McDowell, Herbie Teope, Vahe Gregorian, and Sam Mellinger will be along in a few minutes. We want you to join us with your questions and comments. You know where to go. You know what to do. Send them along. And guys, I was thinking about this right after the game that for all the ways the Chiefs have lost playoff games in their history and really most recent history, and often here at Arrowhead Stadium, they won a game today that'll stand with one of their best victories of all time. It's a forever type of game for the Chiefs to win a game down 24-0 and to roar back like they did. I was stunned. I was stunned.
Yeah, I mean, just knowing the history of this place, especially, just puts it in that kind of perspective. You know, there were 4 or 5 plays in that first quarter alone that, had this game gone the other way, would have been dissected the way the offsides play was, way the coin toss, way the forward progress, way the Marcus Mariota pass, the Andrew Luck fumble that he gets himself and goes back in the end zone. So many plays stand out that you would have dissected those in the same manner, and instead just none of that mattered. And what I wrote about is I think it's because of the quarterback. I mean, the quarterback is just different level. He changes the history. The history of this place suddenly becomes a whole lot less relevant when you've got him on your side.
He starts a new history, right?
Agreed.
You close a chapter, everything until,
Pre-Mahomes, after Mahomes.
Yes,
before
after
Mahomes and after Mahomes.
The AM.
But it's not with the fans quite yet, I don't think, because the fans have experienced the history that Patrick Mahomes has not.
Correct.
And one of the things that was interesting that he said in his press conference after the game was where people were asking him about, we all saw him doing those sprints after they scored touchdowns that were 60, 70 yards getting the fans into the game. And I thought it was pretty telling, and I don't remember the exact quote, but he said that he was reminding the fans that we're not giving up, this game's not over. And for the player to have to say that to the fans, I don't know if that's necessarily the way he meant to frame that, but I still thought that comment was pretty interesting.
Herbie, you've seen, you mentioned this, that you've seen 2 of the crazier games in Chiefs playoff history that are now diametrically opposed to each other, right? Because what today represented was it tied for the 4th greatest deficit overcome in a postseason game. And number 2 on that list, the Chiefs are involved in, on the other side of that, the 28-point lead that they blew against the Colts in 2013. So, I mean, you've seen both ends of this thing, but Mahomes is a difference maker, isn't he?
Mahomes is absolutely a difference maker, and I think in the first quarter, and I know I'm guilty of this too, when they were down 24-0, and I know some fans out at Arrowhead Stadium, you could hear a small spattering of boos out there.
It got loud at one point.
It did. You guys are right. Boos. We heard boos out there. I don't know if you guys heard them on television. We heard the boos in the press box, in the enclosed press box.
Because of all the expectations. There's so many high expectations with this team, especially with Patrick Mahomes, and to go down 24-0, people were throwing up their hands. Oh, here we go again. Even our esteemed colleagues, Sam Mellinger was tweeting out. He was laughing about it. Here we go again. It's the most
colleague.
It's the most chiefy. What do you say? The most chiefy thing ever? Because it was. I mean, it was like they go into this game. They're sitting there. They entered this game like I think an 8.5-point favorite. So
9.5 by the time it closed.
9.5-point favorite. You're thinking total domination, and it just didn't happen. But Mahomes happened. And that's what turned this thing around. There were a lot of things that energized this comeback. McCole Hardman's 58-yard return for not for a touchdown, but got him into Texans territory, and they were able to score a touchdown on that when Mahomes hits.
First good play of the game.
First good
play of the game was that McCole Hardman return.
Someone had to make a play, and Hardman did it.
I disagree. I think Frank Clark's sack was the first big play of the game. They forced the first punt, and then Tyreek Hill fumbles the muffs the punt. So there was that. Gabe Rodriguez wants to know if I lost your comment here. Let me find it here, Gabe. That if the week off had anything to do with the way the Chiefs came out a little rusty or a little off. I don't think that's the case. Heck, Andy Reid after buys is unbelievable, right?
Correct.
I can't explain why they came out the way that they did. Let's count the things that went wrong, and you can pick any phase.
It's only
phase.
a 30-minute show, right?
So defense, I thought it was interesting. Texans win the toss, neglect to go on offense first, right?
Correct. And I think a lot of that had to do also, they know they're facing a potent offense. If we have the opportunity to score points, let's jump ahead first, as opposed to fighting a potential 7-0 deficit.
Turned out to be Bill O'Brien's best and maybe only good move of the game.
but there's a miscommunication in the secondary.
Yep.
And was it Fuller? No, Stills. Kenny Stills. Wide open on the 54-yard touchdown. Okay, so you think, there's a big mistake that they'll squabble about over on the defensive side. They'll get that straightened out. Well, the first offensive series for the Chiefs, Eric Fisher jumps off,
false start.
False start. Thank you. Travis Kelce drops a third down. Would have been a first down conversion.
Also wide open.
Right, also wide open. So the Chiefs have to punt. So already the defense and the offense are involved in this disaster.
Here come the special teams.
Here comes the special teams. Boom. The second block punt this season, the second block punt in the divisional round in 2 years, because the Colts blocked a punt for a touchdown here last year.
Yep.
So equal opportunity disaster for the Chiefs. Everybody had pitched into a disastrous start for the Chiefs. I didn't think they were going to be able to overcome that. I really didn't.
I didn't either. I made careful to say the game felt over and this game is over, but inside the stadium, it felt insurmountable because the Texans, I think what's most surprising about this, and I know the 51 points in 3 quarters is a record, but for them to only score 7 points the rest of the game, I think you thought even if the Chiefs offense gets hot, can the defense hold them to 7, 14, something in that neighborhood to give the Chiefs a chance? Even then, you're just giving your team a chance.
Robert Nagel says he doesn't think the Stills touchdown happens if Thornhill's in the game. That was
That's a good point.
Very good point,
and
Robert.
we talked about that as well. I mean,
that was a miscommunication. It looked like between Charvarius Ward and who was this? Oh, and
Sorensen was the safety.
Sorensen,
Yep.
Right. And boy, Sorensen in the game. I'm thinking, man, it could be a long day for the Chiefs. And yet he's a centerpiece of
for sure
the game turning around. After the Texans make it 24-0, well, first of all, the first great thing that happens, we just mentioned it, Mecole Hardman brings back the kickoff. A game after he had a 104-yard kickoff return for a touchdown against the Chargers, he goes 58 yards, sets up a short field, and then boom, boom, they're in the end zone. Like two plays, right? And that was major, just to score quickly. But even then, now you turned to me or I turned to you and said, what do they have to do to make it a game by halftime? What do they have to get it to?
10 points.
Said 10.
We all said 10 points.
All of our the 3 of us and the 2 players to be named later, we all said 10 points was what you would feel good by halftime.
Right. Instead,
Mahomes happened.
Yes, Mahomes happened. Well, first of all, Mahomes, the touchdown pass to Damian Williams, Mr. January football for the Chiefs, Damian Williams, touchdown reception. And I can't remember the order. Oh, the next defense gets a 3 and out. Texans drop back to punt. And on 4th and 3, Bill O'Brien makes the call of the game. Man, was that a dumb call. Oh my gosh, I could not believe he snapped to the up back. I noticed the up back was kind of sliding over, right?
Yeah. Justin Reed, yep.
Yeah, Justin Reed was sliding over. I didn't talk to Sorensen after the game. I don't know if either of you guys did. I know Vahe was looking for him. I don't know if Sorensen noticed that, but he snuffed it out, didn't he? And I just thought that was major to snuff that out.
It was major snuff out because it absolutely turned the tide in the second quarter. But, here's something interesting. I was in Andy Reid's press conference, and he actually complimented Bill O'Brien for making that call. He's like, he said he understands O'Brien's probably going to get. He says he understands that Bill O'Brien's probably going to get a lot of flack for that, which he probably is right now amongst the Houston Chronicle beat writers and the Texans beat writers. But he's like, as a head coach, he understood why he went for it there. But wow, what a disaster!
I hated it. I thought it was one of the absolute worst coaching moves I've ever seen in a game I'm covering. And I mean, high school, college, NFL, I hated it. They had all the momentum of the game. If you get the first down there, it guarantees you nothing because you're on your own half of the field. Mm-hmm. If you don't get it, it guarantees the Chiefs cutting
a
it.
scoring
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Because they're in field goal range already. I
Right.
mean, I just thought the risk reward was so slanted that, like I said, it was the worst coaching move I've ever covered.
Boy, he was, and Bill O'Brien was grilled about it after the game. We didn't bring his quote sheet in here,
We
but
should have.
yeah, that is. There was some angry Houston media
Yeah.
getting on him, and I think what they're doing is, just reflecting the fans' mood, Texans fans' mood. They were hot.
All legitimate though. I mean that play should be questioned because maybe the Chiefs have this comeback without it, but maybe they don't, because I felt like even though they had the one touchdown, like you guys mentioned, the McCole Hardman return was huge, and then they scored 2 plays later. It's 24-7. You're still down 3 scores though. I can't figure that play out.
I believe that. So the Chiefs take over, and I believe that's a series where the Chiefs get a pass interference. Kelce down the boundary,
Yeah.
get the 28-yard penalty, and that sets up the first of 3 straight short touchdown passes to Travis Kelce. Okay, so 24-14. So now I'm thinking Chiefs get the ball to start the second half. Maybe they can make it a 1-score game early in the second half. But then the Chiefs kick off, and I think the most amusing play of the game, Sorensen again on the tackle, on the hit, jars the ball loose, and pops in the air, and Darwin Thompson on the special teams comes up with it. I don't know if he could walk into the end zone, but it's a clear path to the end zone for Darwin Thompson, except what does he do?
The Heisman pose, baby.
I'll tell you what I think I thought he believed. No, Darwin Thompson's a rookie.
Correct.
And probably hasn't been in that situation. I'm sure he wasn't in that situation this year for the Chiefs. I think he thought it was college. I think he thought once he got the fumble, the play was
Or
dead.
like a mucked punt, even you can't advance it.
Can't advance it.
Yeah.
And you can see in the background Butker waving him, goes, go, go, go. And anyway, it got to third down, but the Chiefs got the second of the 3 touchdown passes, and we are now joined by
The guy who wrote about those plays.
You guys can start now.
It's all been rehearsal until now. The gentlemen that Herbie called esteemed colleagues, Vahe Gregorian and Sam Mellinger.
Oh, we meant him too.
What's up, guys?
Sam too.
You guys been doing a show?
Yeah. We mostly have been kind of riffing on, I don't know, previous games and whatnot. Now, I think the point that we let off with, we'll return to it, is this was a game that may become the pivot point for Chiefs playoff history, or it's certainly, there's been nothing like it in the merger era. And now, after all the misfortune that the Chiefs have had in their playoff history, they've got something that's just.
Look, like, it should surprise.
No, he's got a mic, so we're good.
Because I got
this
here
is
before
yours.
you. This would have been your spot. It should surprise nobody if Derrick Henry rushes for 207 yards next week and the Chiefs lose. Like, that would not be a shocking development, right? But it sure as hell felt like something different happened today. You know what I mean? Like, the team, like, I don't even need to, like, you guys have had a good day. I don't want to ruin it with, like, all the list of, all the things that have
we've
gone
done that. We've covered that ground.
But, like, to win it, that's now the Texans' problem, right?
Yes.
Like, remember that time we lost a playoff game up 24-0 or what? Remember that
Part of their
time?
history.
Remember the time we gave up touchdowns on 7 consecutive possessions?
Yeah.
That's their problem now. The Chiefs are on the other side of that. Again, like, that's not relevant in, like, the actual football. Like whether somebody catches a ball, all that stuff. But I don't know how the 70-whatever-thousand people here can walk away and not feel that. I felt it.
You do feel it. What's interesting about this is the sort of stuff that you like to look at when you're reverse engineering how something goes. Like, so you could see that that was the moment, but we don't have that ability. We're in the moment. So, I mean, it feels like something that was so dramatic. You need something almost like that to purge those past feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, until it changed.
Yeah.
That was, I don't know how many different ways we could all describe it. You guys probably already talked about it, but I mean that even a catalog of all-timers that just can take you to your knees. This would have been pretty tough.
I was struck by this. Like, I'm not somebody that says, like, athletes choke very often. Like, I don't know the last time I've said that. It's been years. But it looked like the Chiefs were choking in the first quarter. I mean, it was just mental, just dropped passes, like just timid kind of mistakes. And then it looked like the Texans were choking in the second quarter. I've just never, that blew my mind, just to see the thing like happen that quickly. Bill O'Brien's got some questions to answer, man. I know you guys talked about that. But.
One more thing that when we were talking about that I didn't mention, because we feel like the quarterback changes a lot of this history,
Totally.
and one way is of course the performance he had on the field, but a few of the teammates I had talked to mentioned that he gave a speech when they were down 21-0, 5 seconds into the second quarter, they said, after the first play. And he's talking about the X's and O's of playing against man-to-man, because they saw a lot of it today. They prepared for 2 weeks thinking that's what they're going to see all in the playoffs. They weren't doing much. But they all remember that he closed that speech with, hey, let's go do something special. And it sort of resonated with all
Was
of them.
Daniel Sorensen in that huddle?
Yeah, we covered him. Matthew Brownfield, as a fan, you no longer feel like you're out of the game never feel like you're out of the game with Patrick Mahomes. That's never been more true than today. I don't know if in the however many games he has started for the Chiefs, 30-ish, whatever, somewhere around there.
Give or take, yeah.
He's never been down 24-0. He's never had to deal with that kind of deficit.
I mean, somewhat famously, at least in Kansas City, he's never lost by more than 7.
Right. I was thinking about that when they were down big.
Yeah.
Probably been down big a lot in college.
Yes.
That's right.
They only lost by
They
40 at
might have
Iowa
been down
State.
more than 7. Like, that Rams
Got
game
him
was so
drafted
crazy,
here.
I can't remember it. But it's just the Chiefs have had a path to the Super Bowl for most of the last 5 years, 6 years, something like that. But it's a narrow path, and everything had to go right. Like, everything had to go right. The execution, all that stuff. Like, Mahomes just gives you a big old margin of error. You can mail in the first quarter and totally screw it up to the point where you're getting deservedly booed at home, and then you end up winning by 20.
I don't know what
crazy.
I don't know what everybody was feeling, but we kind of all talked during the game, and I think we all sort of felt this not really over. It's not good.
Yeah.
But not really over. And I really do think things like seeing the other side of this in Indianapolis, things like Mahomes, and things like even the Royal stuff we've seen, it makes me more patient with having any need to feel a sense of conclusion. I think it got to be 28, then maybe it's a little more dicey. But I you kept feeling like they score one touchdown, well, then it tilts the way the game goes. You didn't quite know they'd then get 2 gift touchdowns with those special teams plays, but they did.
3 touchdowns in 201 seconds. That's pretty good.
And
That'll play.
what was it? It was 34 points in under 15 minutes, right? Because it was like 13-31 over the 2 quarters.
41 in 20 minutes and 16 seconds. They were on a 41-0 run.
I don't know.
7 and 8 in the red zone. That's
7 of 8 in the red zone.
7 of 8 in the red zone. That's
First team in postseason history to trail by 20 and win by 20. I mean, there's a lot of that. There's a lot
The
of
Chiefs
these
have done
types
a lot
of
of
firsts.
firsts
there are a lot of
playoffs,
firsts in the
you
day.
know?
Right.
They've done a lot of firsts.
Biggest comeback in Chiefs history. We all saw the previous record was the 21-point deficit they had to the Chargers on the opening day of 2016. But
I wasn't here.
that's right. That was your first year gone. But
Where were you?
were you guys with me that was there a moment though in the second quarter when you thought, oh, okay, or did you need the collection of plays to be convinced?
I thought the fake punt, especially on the heels of that 4th and inches, and look, like I'm a go for it guy, but I thought kicking it there was totally,
Kicking the field.
go 24-0.
It was reasonable. I get the idea of trying to step on a throat, 4th and inches. You've got that kind of team. You feel like it, but I understood in that situation. But that fake punt, what's he doing? That was crazy. That was bonkers. Like that to me was like, oh, like the other team's going to make some mistakes too, and now this can go.
And they can call it aggressive, but it reeked of desperation.
Stupid.
For a team and stupidity.
Yeah.
But it did. It felt like desperate and
At a time they didn't need to be desperate.
exactly.
To feel desperate.
I mean, they're in the driver's seat there.
It's
Just
24-7.
don't make mistakes, right?
It's 24-7. Manage the game from there.
Yeah.
You can make a case. I won't agree with it, but you can make a case for going for that 4th down, the fake punt. But if you're going to do that, then why not go for your 4th and inches?
Yeah.
Like that's the part that just there's no chain in this logic? Like,
Well, I guess
don't
theoretically
get
it was the surprise factor.
Yeah.
You go for it.
Got them right where they want them.
You go for it on the previous drive, it sets you up to get 4 points.
Yeah.
Rather than getting 3 or getting 7. You go for it there, and this is what we talked about. You got to get, 50 more yards to get in field goal range? I mean, it's just, there's no reward for getting it there.
The other thing,
And you've got a good offense. You don't have to be desperate there.
it was such a good offense that if one team showed a blueprint how to play the Chiefs this year, it was these guys in the regular season holding the ball for 40 minutes and rushing for 192 yards. They had the people to do it.
Yeah.
They just,
Carlos Hyde.
yes.
The other thing, remember
Frank
this.
Clark we're going to get to that. We're going to get to Frank Clark.
Another one of these funny numbers from tonight, though. You guys may have brought this up earlier, but the Texans had 20 was it 21 or 24 in the first? 21 in the first quarter, right?
Yeah.
They scored 47 all season in the first quarter, through 16 regular season games and a postseason game, and they might have thought they could score some more points. Like again, the desperation point on, well, we got to do something crazy here to have a chance while we're up 24-7. I just
Mitch Schwartz said something. He always says something interesting after games, but he talked about next week. We're playing a team with, he used the word insane run game, and we can't get down like this because if we do, they're just going to pound the rock, and then we can't come back. And I'm like, that's what they should have been doing.
Yes.
The Texans can do that too.
It's interesting because you remember I actually turned to you before halftime. I said, if the Titans are up 24-0, I don't think this comeback happens.
Yeah.
Because Derrick Henry is going to get the rock.
Right. No, that's right. Yeah, heck, and I remember thinking 14-0 might do it for the Titans.
Yeah.
If they get a 2-touchdown lead, it's going to be difficult. It will be difficult. So we're talking about the AFC title game against the Tennessee Titans, the 9-7 Tennessee Titans. We'll spend a lot more time this week on at our Big O Tires appearance talking about the AFC title game. I want to talk about this game some more because it's just so bizarre. It just really is. I had so I pick a player of the game, and I thought Sorensen deserved certainly some run. Travis Kelce, I thought. Frank Clark ends up with 3 sacks and some interesting comments. I thought after the game. I know you didn't bring any of them here. Did you remember any offhand?
Oh heck yeah, I remember.
I didn't get my phone, but
Well, I do know. After the first game, Carlos Hyde, if y'all remember, he scored on a touchdown.
Beth,
He
do you
yelled-
do you have a bleep button?
No, I'm not going to say what he said. But
You need
Carlos
the- you need
Hyde,
the mic.
Carlos Hyde looks into the camera after he scores a touchdown and says, "They can't effing stop us." Well, apparently Frank Clark and the defense kept receipts on that. After the game today, Clark was reveling in the fact that the Houston Texans are now going home. He even took to Twitter, sent me a postcard or something like that to one Arrowhead Drive. But he said something to the effect of, they were talking smack about us, and kind of like the Game of Thrones, the North remembers type deal. So I followed up and I was like, who was talking smack? And he turns to me and he says, y'all the media, Carlos Hyde. Basically in a nutshell, he says, Carlos Hyde, our job wasn't to stop Carlos Hyde, our job was to stop the Houston Texans. But at the same time, they did that, but they also stopped him. Carlos Hyde didn't do.
they did both.
Beat. Carlos Hyde in this game ended, starts with an S, ends with a T. But Carlos Hyde this game rushed for 44 yards, 13 carries. That's an average of 3.4 yards per carry. First game around, he anchored the Texans rushing attack that had 192 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had 116 yards. So yeah, he's right. He didn't do anything this game.
The best part of that to me was he wasn't even asked, went out of his way to say, they were talking this trash and we embarrassed them, all this stuff. And then he calls out Carlos Hyde, specifically by name, and then he ends it with, but we keep all that stuff in-house, like always. That's amazing. That is amazing.
Not in the house anymore.
Well, you should have asked him, what other things do you just keep in house?
He posted it on Twitter, you said.
Send us a postcard. That's just amazing.
So we love Frank Clark here.
Yes.
Right.
He didn't do any of the tear side effects, did he? Like he did with
Not that I
Phillip
saw,
Rivers?
but
That was an on-field thing.
Would
for him.
not surprise me.
Todd Bryan noticed that the Chiefs said that they ran out of fireworks because they'd scored so many touchdowns, and yet somehow fireworks appeared at the end of the game.
There may have been a little point of effect there on that scoreboard, huh?
I think so, too.
Is that the implication?
Many of our in our audience want to know about Chris Jones. and let's take us through the Chris Jones day, the Chris Jones story. It started Wednesday, really, with him showing up on was it Wednesday or Thursday?
Yeah, he
Thursday showed up in the injury report.
Showed up in the injury report Thursday with a calf injury. Andy Reid talked to us on Friday and basically said he tweaked it. Now, Jones came out during pregame warmups. Actually, before pregame warmups, he was out there with some of the Chiefs' medical staff, the athletic trainers, and position coach, and he went through a quick warm-up, and then they deemed that he just couldn't go. Andy Reid said after the game, he didn't offer any details. He'll get that to us probably, well, not Monday, because
Guys will just be coming in.
Yeah, the guys will just be getting in. But from what we know, it is a calf injury, and I think they wanted to err on the side of caution here. Because he was out there, he had a sleeve and a brace on his lower right leg.
About 2 hours before kickoff, he's on the field with Rick Burkhalter and the training staff, and moving laterally and doing light jogging and trying to see if he could go. And I guess it was determined, and we didn't know until like the inactives were announced that
Shortly before the inactives,
right?
correct.
So another half hour to 45 minutes, we didn't know he was not going to go. Listen, I thought that was a cause for concern. You're losing your Pro Bowl defensive tackle against a team that ran roughshod over you the first time, and he didn't play in that game. I just thought, listen, I know this Chiefs defense is a different animal than it was in Week 6. Guys like Mike Pennell and Xavier Williams was available today, and guys that didn't play in Week 6, but still losing Chris Jones, and then the Texans get off to that start. I had maybe this is a total misread of the situation, but I wonder if Chris Jones' unavailability had an effect on sort of the way the Chiefs started out today, and guy didn't warrior up. Maybe they thought, well, he should be out there with us, and he wasn't there. Might have been a misread. I hope to talk to Chris Jones this week about it, and who knows if he's going to play. And
we probably won't be able to talk to Chris because you know how the Chiefs operate.
Yeah,
he'll have to put a full practice in all the way up until Friday before we can actually talk to him.
The fact that he came out to at least give it a go, I think, shows that it's not a serious long-term injury. But, and the three of us talked about this pregame, it was so quick that he tested it and was gone off the field that it was pretty clear that he was not going to go, I thought. And again, we talked about it. I mean, the calf muscle for a defensive lineman is your first burst off the football. And if you can't get that going for you, then I don't know if it's a situation where he's maybe just not gutting it out. I feel like it's a situation where he's not going to be as effective as a fully healthy. Colin Saunders and Mike Pennell both made plays today.
Well, one of the things that you guys may have talked about it also before I got here. You probably talked about a lot of things, but I'll tell you what, it also reminded us, though, today of how depleted or how different Frank Clark was back then in the first Texans game.
Yeah.
Because he was pretty big factor today, and that there's I think we tweeted it, but the one sack, he ran 42 yards on the play, it took 10.8 seconds from the first one to the third shot at Watson, and I don't think he could have done that with the pinched nerve in his neck.
Right.
So, he probably stepped in a little bit for Chris in that way himself by being such a presence.
Todd Bryan wants to know if Anna's going to call during the show. I hope not.
Oh, your daughter?
Yeah. If Anna's checking in, she will not. She doesn't. I don't even know if she knows that Chiefs played today.
Hey, one other quick Chris Jones point. Tyrann Mathieu said that he was trash talking the Texans the whole game. The Chris was, so he was active in that sense.
Brian Johnson noticed that Deion Yelder, not a bad tight end, good hands. He had the catch right out of the. Here's the thing. I remember telling you. It's funny we have these discussions during the game, right? The Chiefs haven't been good at first possessions of second halves. I think chance to, put a team away, they don't do it. They come out and the first play is a little RPO to Deion Yelder, who makes his third reception of the year. I just thought, okay, they're going to show us something here, and they took it down and scored. I thought that was important for the Chiefs to continue, what they had finished the first half with, open the second half with a score.
Kelce out that drive.
Yes, and Kelce out with the
hamstring.
hamstring.
And they still just right down the field with the touchdown.
So not only did Yelder make that play, but Blake Bell touchdown. First.
Indeed, his first career TD.
I think
NFL TD.
Yeah, I think so. So all right, we got. we're going to start to wrap this up. You guys have been great. Got some good questions here. What's the like I said, we'll talk more about it on Thursday. But what's the first thing you think of when you consider the Titans?
I think it's a scary matchup. I don't think this celebration that, hey, the Titans are coming in instead of playing the Ravens is warranted, because I think the Titans are a worrisome matchup for the Chiefs because of everything that we all know. Because of Derrick Henry, a guy who Chiefs fans should know extremely well by now. And I get it that the game's going to be here instead of at Baltimore, although the Chiefs went 7-1 on the road this year and went 5-3 in this building. So they're a 6 seed in number only, I think, because once Ryan Tannehill took over, that team's been completely different. 9-3, beat the Patriots, beat the Ravens on the road. I think they're a good team.
I think they're a heck of a team.
I think they're a heck of a team. I think they could be kryptonite for the Chiefs. But a thing to remember is, for all the other stuff going on with them, if there weren't, there's, again, 2 special teams meltdowns at the end of that game, I think the Chiefs win that game. So, we'll see. But they're going to come in here feeling like they can beat anybody. They've beaten this team and ended the New England mystique in a certain way, and then beating a number 1 seed. I mean, they've got no reason to feel like they couldn't beat the Chiefs.
The line's 7 points. I got the line already. It's 7.5 based on the book. The Chiefs will be favored.
Dean Mann reminds us that the protection from Mahomes was great today. I thought it was. I thought the offensive line had a terrific game. Terrific game. And there was a little bit of a surprise there with the inactives. Andrew Wiley was inactive today. That caught me by surprise a little bit.
Wisniewski can play.
Yeah. Okay, Herbie, what do you think about the Titans?
Here's what I think about the Titans. They're getting hot at the right time. History in the National Football League shows that if you're getting hot in December and you carry that into the playoffs, it suits you well. The Chiefs are also hot. But at the same time, Andy Reid, 1-8 against the Titans. That's a stat we're going to hear about a lot here. And the Titans are road warriors. These guys don't care if they're not favored. They were 4.5-point dogs going into New England. They were 10-point dogs going into Baltimore, and they won those games with a physical style of offense. And Derrick Henry, what can you say about that guy?
He's a linebacker at running back is what he is.
We wanted to, supposedly, most coaches wanted to move him to linebacker, Nick Saban said.
Yeah, I saw that on the pregame.
Yeah, on the pregame yesterday, so I thought that was interesting.
You can see why.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's not an irrational move like, Texas trying to move Mahomes to safety, which is a real thing that happened.
So what I remember about the game is the Chiefs went up 29-20 early in the fourth quarter on the acrobatic touchdown pass to McCole Hardman. And usually Chiefs 9 or 10 2-score lead in the fourth quarter, you kind of feel good about where they're going to, how that game's going to end. Not so much.
They both won that game and absolutely blew the game. They were the better team, I felt like, just, watching it. Is the special teams screw-ups that you mentioned. The defense went completely limp on that last drive. They had a 3rd and, 8 or 12, something like that. That Tannehill broke and just make a tackle. I think it was Rashad Fenton and Tyrann Mathieu. I think they both had a chance and just kind of olayed, and Tannehill converted that. So, I mean, they are a good team. And I'm interested in what Spags does defensively. I mean, Spags is like, other than the quarterback, who's always different, like he may have had the biggest impact on this team this season of any human, of any employee. And he's got a really interesting decision, I think. Like, do you go all out to stop, this Jim Brown impersonation? I think I saw he's the first player in league history with 3 straight games.
180.
180.
Yeah.
So do you do that, or do you let him get his 190 or whatever it is and stop? Because when they scored those first 2 touchdowns last night, that was Tannehill going over the top on, play action. That's where he's really dangerous. It's an interesting decision that they're going to have on defense.
Keith Scally, hope I'm pronouncing that right, says stack the box and make Tannehill beat you.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, the crazy thing is that kind of worked against the Ravens last night. There were a couple times when the game was playing, I started counting. How many people were in the box?
Yeah.
There were a couple instances, there were 9 defenders in the box.
That's why the play action is so effective. Ryan Tannehill had the best rating in the NFL on play action. It's because everybody bites whenever you've got Derrick Henry there.
And he was, I get it. You don't want Derrick. You've got those flashbacks and all that stuff. But that's when they're killing you on the big plays. last night, Henry had the one like 62, right, or
Yeah.
In the
something
second
like that.
half, right?
But
Third quarter.
it's mostly shorter runs, and I just wonder if the strategy might be just let him have his. Well, we won't give up the 60, but give up some yards, but just stop the big plays over the top. I wonder.
The one thing that sticks out about Derrick Henry, and I actually talked to Reggie Ragland tonight in the locker room, and he, of course, played with Derrick Henry in college. Yeah. He's deceptively fast. People think because of his size that he's this big bruising running back, and he is that. But he's also got breakaway speed, and that's what makes him such a dangerous guy. So you've got to be careful on putting all those guys in the box because he can beat you outside, too.
Yeah. There was a next-gen stat I saw where he had some long touchdown, and they had him at 20-some miles an hour, like just sprint speed. And I think he was like nursing an injury at the time. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous.
Tyreek runs.
Just absolutely just.
Would Derrick Henry compete with Tyreek in a race?
They said he was a 4.5 at the combine.
He had a broken ankle, too. When
Yeah.
that play. It was unbelievable. It was remarkable. I don't know. It just, do you get a sense that everything's coming up Chiefs these days?
I do.
The Dolphins beat the Patriots.
Right.
How was that happening?
Yeah.
How
This
was
should have
that
been a wild card
happening?
game, right?
The Titans go to Baltimore and win, so the Chiefs are home next week.
Yeah.
It just
And this happened.
and then this happens to instill confidence in this Chiefs team. It just I don't know. Coming up Chiefs.
Look, we were talking about this before the season. This is one of the first seasons that I can think of that you went into already thinking Super Bowl or bust, and the season has only reinforced that feeling.
Yeah.
And I think this is what you were writing about too for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
You got to do it, man.
yeah,
Like before the year, I kind of felt like if they lost in the AFC Championship, it can't be considered success. But it's hard to say that's a failure. Now I think that's a failure. At this point,
Especially with the opponent, with the venue.
Yeah.
With the venue.
you're going to lose at home in the AFC Championship 2 years in a row as a betting favorite.
Yep.
That's not what you want.
I had a buddy bring this up last night, and I think it made a lot of sense. This is a little reminiscent of KU when the bracket opened up for them and they had VCU in the Elite Eight to get to the Final Four. And I think the Titans have a little bit.
Or what about Oregon at
A little
Sprint
bit of
Center?
shock of smart in them. Is that
I
what you're
think they've
saying?
got a little bit of. You got to be careful for this team.
Wasn't that an Elite Eight game at the Sprint Center against Oregon?
Oregon, yeah.
The Oregon game
The
was.
Jayhawks
At least
had?
Oregon
Well, they had-
was like a
they-
3
yeah.
or 4 seed, though.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I'll tell you the way I look at it is
Half of our viewers love that analogy, and half of them probably absolutely despise it.
I think the way I'm feeling now is the Packers ended up winning. Correct? Did the Packers end up beating the?
I didn't see.
Let me get the final here.
Oh, only up 5.
Oh, okay. So but they have the ball. Let's just say the Packers are going to end up beating the Seahawks. Packers will end up winning the NFC because this postseason is going to end up being a Chiefs redemption tour. We'll beat the Texans. They're going to beat the Titans. They'll beat the Packers in the Super Bowl. They'll beat the three of the teams that beat them this season.
And the big redemption of Super Bowl one.
Super Bowl one. That's the big one. That's the one.
I don't know if the Packers can beat the 49ers. That's the big one.
We'll see. We'll have to see. Okay, let's get out of here, guys. It's late. Beth wants to go home, and so do these guys. But we are going to be back on Thursday at Big O Tires, somewhere in the metro area. We don't know where yet.
We've got a pretty good idea where this is. What part of town this is going to be.
Overland Park. Yeah, it might be south. It might be south. So anyway, thanks for joining us tonight. Hey, give us people tell me give us a like or hit that little green or little blue thumbs up button at the bottom and let us know that you like this. Share it, and we'd appreciate that. So for Sam McDowell, Vahe Gregorian, Herbie T.O.B., Sam Melliger, and Beth Welsh, good night, and we'll talk to you again soon.